See what you made me do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff, and I get to go first. When Aaron, who's the founder of Agenda, contacted me, he gave me a call, and he's like, Jeff, we want you to come out, and we need you to warm up the stage, make sure there's no technical difficulty, so that when Johnny, Bobby, and Mark go on, everything is smooth. And I was like, all right, I could do that. But can I say a few things? He's like, yeah, just keep it short and sweet, and it'll be fine. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to keep it short and sweet for you guys. Oh, I need my Instagram moment too. Hold on. Okay, Glass. Take a picture. This is the first streetwear conference given on Google Glass. So this is history in the making. I was actually beta testing this. I was one of the test dummies for this for the past year. So figuring out the kinks, working out how, this is amazing what's happening right here. Like, that's awesome. But that was, thank you, sir. He just said you're welcome. Yeah, so I was sort of guinea pigging this thing for Google for the past year, and it's amazing. It's basically a phone all up in your eyeball, And it could give you GPS, map directions, you can make phone calls, check your emails. And I've had it for like the last year, and I was like, the only thing I can't yet figure out how to do on this is how to get laid in it. It's like it's just impossible. And last week, I went to Google headquarters, and he's like, is everything working? I was like, yeah, I just can't get laid in this thing. He's like, yeah, we can't figure that out either. No one's ever been laid in Google Glass yet, so I'm gonna try to figure that out. So let's see. I don't want to waste time talking about what I've done, really. Like, I think everyone here is pretty Google savvy, so you could figure out what I've done. You could go to Google and figure that out. It's funny because I am of Asian descent, obviously, and if anyone has minority parents, you'll know how difficult. Yes, that one. He's one. You'll know how difficult it is, though, to tell your parents that you want to pursue a career in the creative arts. It's really, as a minority parent, I think they want their child to be one of two things, right? Doctor or lawyer. That's it. And, I understand, they're at the dim sum table, and like, parent number one's like, oh, my child just got the BMW 7 Series, and they opened his own firm, and then the other parent's like, oh, my son is lawyer, very, very powerful lawyer. And then my parents are like, yeah, my son is an artist. Total failure. Like, you might as well just be a criminal and like just be in jail. Like, it's really embarrassing. So, I've been doing this for like 20 years now, and I've never really been able to explain to my parents what it is that I do with success, Then this company came in and followed me around for a couple days and captured what I did, and they made a really nice 5-minute video. And in 5 minutes, they were able to explain to my parents what I couldn't do in 20 years. So I figure I'm going to show the video really quick so that you can see what it is that I do, and then we could go on to some much more interesting stuff. 1993 is when I started coming to the Lower East Side. And it was sort of the place to get mixtapes, hard to get music, and I was always just a fan of what would be known as streetwear today. Back then, I was a fan of individual people making clothes that I couldn't get anywhere else. Guys like Jaquan, who was doing a line called Rock Hard, Camilla Elke, who was doing a line called 555 Soul, and that was all here. It was a very, very innocent, naive time that was really dope. It was like the nascent, prehistoric street culture days. And it was an amazing time to be in the city. Staple Design is where I work. It's what I started. I started it in 1997, and I didn't know what I was doing back then. I didn't know what I was starting. What Staple Design is, we're a creative agency, we're a clothing line, apparel collection. We are a retail store, we are an art gallery, and we're a magazine as well. So those are the different businesses that we operate in.
Home video shows the scene outside the Reed Space Store on the Lower East Side yesterday when nearly 100 self-proclaimed sneakerheads got into a shoving match as they waited for the doors to open and the chance to buy one of only 20 pairs of pigeons. Limited edition, of course.
Kids were piled up against the fence like it was a soccer game, and I was just like, I can't believe this. Like, I was actually fearful at times for, you know, the safety of the people here, you know, the staff, myself. I was just, you know, it was scary at sometimes.
No one was hurt, and these pictures taken by store workers show their...
When I was really young, I wanted to be an astronaut.
When the cops showed up.
I didn't have like ambition to be an artist or anything. You know, it wasn't cultivated by my parents at all. I didn't show in any like youth galleries or anything like that. It was just literally a geek in his bedroom, like just drawing comic book characters. You know, that's what I was doing. I didn't see it as being anything like a career opportunity. But I guess the artistic seed was always in there somewhere. You know, design to me is just all about communication. That's what a good designer is. Every time I'm presented with a design project, I see a problem that somebody has, and it's my job to fix that problem, you know? It's almost like they have a Rubik's Cube that they can't figure out, and good design can be like, boom, now we can all see it. You know, that's what good design is. And I love trying to figure out that Rubik's Cube for people all the time. The first thing was clothing. It started in clothing by accident, purely, you know, wasn't really trying to sell shirts at all. Walked into a store that wanted to buy the shirt off my back, like saw the shirt and said like, how can I get that shirt? Where can I get it? And I said, I made it. So then, you know, that's really how business started. They were like, make 12 and we'll try it here. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I didn't even have a name then at that point. It's just a freak chance accident that like that guy liked the shirt that I was wearing and wanted to buy them. And then another freak chance that they sold. And then business was kind of open. So that's how it all got started. That's where it all happened, from March 7th, 1997, my birthday. Whenever we design something or create a line or a logo or a t-shirt, there's like a story behind that. There's like a process. So we wanted a space where more of that story could be explained and told. And that was one of the main bases for opening Reed Space. I named it after my high school art teacher, Michael Reed. He was a huge influence in my life. Throughout your life, you're gonna meet a certain number of people that really like shifts the fork in the road, so to speak. Like, you know, when people say you're at a crossroads in life, like I was gonna make a left, but this dude came along and made me make a right. You know, it's a way to have his legacy live on. He passed away. He died while he was teaching us. You know, like he taught enough life lessons, but then to teach the final lesson of like, you know, that which is possibly most sacred to you can then be taken away in the blink of an eye. Like literally he died in an accident. So it was like overnight. It was like, you know, one more lesson, you know, that he taught. Reed Space is sort of secretly our ear to the street. It's one thing to be designing in a bubble and just being able to create great stuff, but then does it work for real? Like in reality, does it work? Do the people like it? And Reed Space is our in-house incubation laboratory that we could just make something, put it right out in Reed Space, and like, nobody likes this. Oh, we fucked up, you know, like that happens. And it's like our testing ground. People ask like, how can you work so much? I actually dread falling asleep because it's those hours that I can't work on staple or can't, you know, operate staple. So it's like, I stay up as much as I can to continuously do it and then fall asleep, fine, finally knock out, you know. Second I wake up, it's like I'm back right on it and I don't want to stop. Outside of just making cool t-shirts and highly sought after footwear, you know, that's fun and games, but like, I definitely don't want to go to the grave being like, you've made a great sneaker, Jeff. Like, what have you done? You know what I mean? Like, I tell you, if one kid is like, yo, I was headed for this direction in my life, but after I saw what you did, I decided to go this way, that's worth so much more than like an eBay hit or like, you know, like a highly sought after pair of sunglasses, you know.
So that's me in 5 minutes. And you know, coming out of that, I want to just highlight some of the key points that were taken out of that. That's basically what I'm going to do for the next couple minutes, is just go over some key points. The first key point I want to go over, just you know, before we get into it too much, is I have a message that I want to say to Mark Echo, who is, you know, one of my heroes growing up, and I'm as excited to speak as I am to hear him speak later. You know, before I started Staple, I used to be a huge fan of Echo, and I used to buy a lot of their clothes. And back in the day, every time you bought an Echo shirt, you got a mixed tape, like a cassette tape with every purchase that you bought. And you know, it'd have like Pharoah Monch and Mos Def and Kweli, and before you even heard of these artists, it was so amazing. And I remember like I was so enamored, and I wrote like a fan letter to Mark, and I never got a reply. And now I can call you out on that, motherfucker, that you didn't reply to my fan mail. But so you could, you know, if you write me a letter and I don't reply, you can come up on stage one day and call me out too. So it's all even. So what was that? Oh yeah, lost in the mail, sure. So key point number one that I want to say is be the best slave you can be. And what I mean by this is just you got to work your ass off at this shit, man. Like when I started at this, there was at one point where I had 4 jobs at the same time. I was working at a Kinko's by night. I was working at a book publishing company by day. I was interning at another company called PNB Nation. And I was also working at an architectural design firm as a graphic designer, all at the same time. And I was just hustling my ass off, saving every penny to try to do this. And I think that all of those opportunities that you get from all these different jobs, like from all of those jobs, the book publishing company, I learned how to do traditional graphic design. The architectural firm, I learned about product design and space design. Kinko's is where I printed out my lookbooks and catalogs for free at night. PNB Nation, I didn't even know what PNB Nation was when I interned there, but little did I know it was the grandfather seed of street culture as we know it today. And I was just lucky enough to be sitting amongst these great geniuses, starting a brand, and I learned there about having partners, about, you know, just the hustle of street culture that you guys know about right now. I learned all that there. So all of those things I sort of pulled together, and I took those learnings and put them in the Staple, you know. So most of those jobs were unpaid, and I highly suggest working unpaid, do an internship, just get anything you can, you know, to learn anything. So like I said before, in the video, what we do is we have 4 divisions. Apparel, design, retail, and curation. I'm going to go into these a little bit further. But with apparel is where it really all started from. You know, I was silk screening shirts at a Parsons School of Design in New York City. And that's where it really started. And my key point number 2 is never let anyone tell you no. Always find another way in. When I started at Parsons to silkscreen, you know, they didn't let you silkscreen on T-shirts at Parsons. They only let you silkscreen on paper. And I asked the teacher why, and I was like, why, you know, why can't I silkscreen on T-shirts? And they just said no. And I was like, why though? And they're like, just because I said no. And I fucking hate that answer so much. Like, I'm cool if you say no and if you justify the reason why, but don't just tell me no. So me and a buddy would leave the window of the silkscreen lab unlocked, and then we would break in. Like, so with this key point, I said find another way in. Like, I literally found another way in to get those shirts done. And I set up a sweatshop inside the Parsons silkscreen lab for a few years, you know, running our own shirts. So definitely never let anyone tell you no. So these were some of the early shirts that we were doing, you know, real conceptual stuff. Brings me back to the early days. And then this brings me to my next key point. These are some of the other shirts. Key point number 3 is ride the waves. So when I was selling T-shirts to local New York City shops, you know, 2 of them were Union and 555 Soul. The managers were like, hey, Jeff, you know, if you made like a sweatshirt, people might buy it. And I was like, word? It's like, okay. You know, if you made pants, people would buy the pants, you know. So I could have at that point, I guess, stopped and just started doing T-shirts because I never actually wanted to be a fashion designer. To me, fashion was just a means of me expressing my ideas. It was just a medium. That's all it was. A powerful medium, but just a medium. You know, I was into graphics, web, multimedia, I was into all this other stuff. But fashion was a really powerful one. So I think I was really thinking about it at one point, was like, should I really go into this like apparel world? And like I said, I was on a wave and I just rode the wave through and I kept going. And now today we have a full menswear collection. We're distributed all over the world. And it's an incredible thing. And I think about often what would have happened if I had said no back then and just said like, nah, I'm just gonna do these 6 t-shirts and just leave it at that. You know, my whole life would have changed. So definitely ride that momentum wave. Key point number 4, there's a saying that goes, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I haven't worked in 17 years now. I haven't had a job in 17 years, you know. I remember what it felt like before that, when you'd wake up and you look at your alarm clock and you just hate your life. I know that feeling. You wake up and you're like, fuck, man, snooze, you know, like, I know that feeling. But now, like I said in the video, sort of for the past 17 years, I've been living the opposite. Like, I don't want to sleep, because the second I sleep, I can't work anymore. The most annoying thing you could do to me is put me on a beach with no Wi-Fi. Hate that shit. I can't, it's not because I'm a workaholic. People are like, Jeff, you're a workaholic, you can't turn off. It's like, no, because I love what I do, and now you're stopping me from loving what I'm doing. So like, it's kind of annoying to me, you know? And people don't understand that because not a lot of people love their jobs. And in design, you know, we started to work with a lot of different clients that were my loves, you know what I mean? Like, I loved hip-hop music. That was one of the first things that I loved. And I was fortunate enough to be able to link with Raucous, which was a very influential record label back in the day. So we were designing album covers, and that led to then designing music magazines. So then from the stuff that I was doing at Raucous, a magazine called The Fader asked me to start doing their creative and art direction at The Fader. And there's a point to this story, because while I was at The Fader, I proposed to the publisher, Rob Stone. I said, you know, there's this thing happening in Japan where Nike in Japan is making shoes just for Japan, and people in America really want them. And he was like, really? That's very interesting. So I was like, yeah, so I want to go to Nike Japan and ask them why they're doing that. Why are you making shoes in limited quantity? It sounds so archaic to say this right now, because it's like, limited edition shoes? Of course we make limited edition shoes. But back in 1998, it was like really weird that a billion-dollar corporation was making limited edition shit. So I went out to Japan, and I met with Nike Japan, and that's where the relationship started to sort of birth between Nike and myself. And that's where we started to do a lot of design work for them, a lot of internal design work, as well as a lot of other design projects like this one, which ended up being, well, I'm just going to let this play.
There's a footwear frenzy going on in the city right now. A special sneaker made just for New York is in such high demand, people are fighting to own a pair of these things. CBS 2's Michael Pomerantz shows us how Nike's Pigeon Dunk had feathers flying.
This home video shows the scene outside the Reed Space Store on the Lower East Side yesterday, when nearly 100 self-proclaimed sneakerheads got into a shoving match as they waited for the doors to open and the chance to buy one of only 20 pairs of pigeons. Limited edition, of course.
Kids were piled up against the fence like it was a soccer game, and I was just like, I can't believe this. Like, I was actually fearful at times for, you know, the safety of the people here, you know, the staff, myself. I was just, you know, it was scary at sometimes.
No one was hurt, and these pictures taken by store workers show their perspective and the crowds when the cops showed up.
They could have at any time shut this whole thing down, and I wouldn't have blamed them at all.
Nike only made 150 pairs of pigeons, all to be sold in New York City. 20 sold here at $300 a pair by the graphic artist who Nike asked to design a shoe specifically for New Yorkers, using a recognizable theme.
We chose the pigeon out of all things just because the bird just doesn't give a crap. You know, like, they'll walk all over you, they'll walk right next to you, they don't fly away, they're not scared, and I think that really personifies New York.
Jeff Ng and his design team have done several shoe projects with Nike over the past few years, even a couple of shoes with New York themes, but none has been more popular than the Nike Pigeon.
I came like 4 hours before, but no chance.
Nike's Pigeon Dunk shoes are made to look just like the bird's signature embroidered heel with gray uppers and reddish soles. They're so hot, they're already on eBay for $200 to $1,000 a pair.
It's just specifically that it's a shoe that represents New York City to the fullest.
Everyone's got their passion and their vice, you know, so for this small subculture, you know, it's sneakers.
The flap was front page news today, and although they're all sold out of the Pigeon sneaker, there is a consolation buy, the Pigeon t-shirt. only $24. It may not carry the same street cred, but there are plenty of them, and at least they haven't flown the coop yet. Michael Pomerantz, CBS 2 News.
I just want to know how the pigeon represents.
That was history. That was history. That was the first time a Nike had ever been on the front page of a New York City newspaper. And that was really like a line in the sand. I'm going to take these off because I definitely feel the brain cancer kicking in right now. Like, it's like a tumor forming in my head right now. Other projects, like just going back to the love thing, I'm a really avid snowboarder. I love snowboarding, been doing it for like over 15 years. And so we work with Burton on a snowboarding line called Idiom. So just to give you examples of like, if you're a designer, you could be a designer and love creativity, but still hate your life. Trust me. You could be doing some like pharmaceutical, Pfizer, like bullshit work. You got to really follow your true passion. If you're into like motorbikes, if you're into car design, if you're into like, rainwear, whatever it is your passion, like find that passion and then just do it, Oakley, I've been a huge Oakley fan all my life since I was a teenager, so to be able to work with them on a project like this was also amazing. And it's just, once you have like love for something, you're just gonna go crazy to the next level in terms of like wanting to bring that design aesthetic, all the way over the top. These are some of the things that we've done with Oakley in the past. Key point number 5. Allow people to interact with your work. So I meet a lot of incredible, creative, talented people, but so many of them are just like in their bedroom in some like remote town, and they're like the next Picasso, but nobody knows about them because they don't want to get out there. It's so important to allow people to interact with your work, and that's where, to me, ReadSpace comes in. You might think that right now, like because of social media and the internet, like, I just have an Instagram page, people are interacting with my work, but I really do feel that you need to find a physical place where people can interact, like can actually go up, touch it, smell it, feel it, buy it, try it on, whatever it is. I feel like it's so important in this day and age of social media to have a thing where people can walk in and experience in real life. So that brings me to key point number 6. A mentor once told me that if you're not making money while you're sleeping, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And that really rang true to me because it's true. Like if I go to bed and I'm not making money, that's a real shortcoming, And it really became evident to me when we opened ReadSpace in Japan, because it was funny. Like when I opened ReadSpace in Japan, I'd get the end of day sales reports from Japan while I was sleeping. And when I wake up, I'd be like, oh, we made this much money in Japan. I was like, wow, I just made this much money while sleeping like 8 hours. That's so damn cool, And that's where it really became apparent that like you got to really figure out a way to turn your business into a way where you're making money. It's kind of a metaphor, actually. It's not necessarily make money, while you're sleeping, but it's making money beyond yourself. You know what I mean? If you can only work 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and you can only generate income during that time, then it's a shortage, it's a shortcoming. You got to figure out how to get beyond that. Key point number 7, they have that saying about lemonade. It's 100% true. If someone throws you lemons, you got to make lemonade out of it. And Read Annex, which is our sister store, is the perfect example of that. We opened Read Annex a few years after ReadSpace because of the economic downturn and the depression we were having. It was a way that we were able to have sales without affecting the core ReadSpace business. It was also a great place for brands who were thinking about going into retail in New York City to try it out, and Bobby is definitely, can attest to that. He did a pop-up at Read Annex before they opened the Hundreds flagship in New York City. And a lot of companies, Penfield does it all the time as well. So it's a great way to just try out what it's like to do retail in New York for a startup brand. These are some images of Read Annex, which is right next door to ReadSpace. And then, Odd Future recently took over the Read Annex as well, and it was bonkers. I mean, like, the whole Odd Future crew came out, they brought their stuff, and about 4,000 people came out to line up that day. It was weird because the next week, John Mayer calls me up and he's like, I want to do a pop-up as well. So we did a John Mayer pop-up, and we had bets inside the company to see who would bring more people out, Odd Future or John Mayer. John Mayer won by a landslide. Key point number 8, so be sure to make some sense. It's not always about the money. We also have an art gallery that comes out of ReadSpace as well. And when you deal with artists and art functions, it's not always about making the cash register ring. It's also about cultivating the culture itself. And I always want to support global artists, emerging artists from all around the world, and just really be able to have a space where like photographers, painters, illustrators, artists, this is Fail. You guys might know about Fail. He was in that Banksy documentary, Exit Through the Gift Shop, and he had his first New York City solo show with us. This is Kenji Hirata. We had his first solo show as well, and then he ended up doing an Absolute Vodka ad campaign. So it's great to see like emerging artists, then becoming like the next big stars. It's really dope to see. This is Para. His first New York City solo show was at Reed Space as well. Cell phones off. And then the culture then becomes commercialized, and in a good way, because our art gallery then became a place where brands started to take them over. Nike would take it over and release the Kobe Bryants out of there, and Kobe came down to the Lower East Side and Reed Space to launch that shoe. Boost Mobile would take it over and do a gallery out of it. So it's kind of interesting how we do something for the love, and then you figure out how to make money from it later. But it's really important to, at first, do it for the love. Then the money's gonna come. You don't have to really worry about it. These are the images of that same gallery that Boost Mobile did. Okay, so that's all the good stuff. Now, I took all of those key points and I was like, okay, I'm at the point in my life where I'm 17 years into my career, and I'm like, what do I do with all these learnings I have? And I recently had a talk with the RZA at the Apple Store in LA. And backstage, RZA is like a deep motherfucker. He's like a really, really deep motherfucker. And he knew about my career naturally, and of course I knew about his career, and he was like, you know what you gotta do, Jeff? You gotta give it all away. He's like, that's what I did with the music. Just give it all away, man. It's like, it's art, you gotta let it go into the world, So that's what I started to think about how to do, is how to share everything that I've learned and just throw it out there. I don't want any secrets. I don't want to pull back on anything. I just want to take everything that I've learned and share it with everyone who's interested in listening. And recently I hooked up with this company called Skillshare. Skillshare.com is an amazing website. You guys should check it out. It's basically Kickstarter for teachers. So anybody could go on Skillshare and start a class. You could start a class on anything you want. You set your price. Doesn't matter how many people join, and you could teach that class in person. You could say, meet me at this cafe, and I'll show you how to basket weave. You could do it online. You could do it through Skype. You could do it any way you want. Anyone can form a class. So I've gone and started a class on Skillshare and teaching people how to start a brand, okay? And it just launched like 3 days ago, and the response has been madness. Over almost 3,000 people have signed up for this class all over the world. All 3,000 people in the world get to network and talk with each other. So you can just like start a collaboration with some dude in Berlin right now. I also stepped it up by working with Agenda, actually, where out of all of these 3,000 students, and they all upload their brands, I'm gonna pick my favorite brand, the strongest brand, and I'm gonna give them a free booth at the next Agenda trade show to be able to exhibit. So I'm really upping the ante on that. So I wanna show you this. This is it. What's up? My name is Jeff Staple. I'm the founder and creative director of Staple Design and Reed Space. I'm really excited to be part of Skillshare, and I'm going to be showing you guys the ins and outs of what it takes to create this type of a business and this type of a brand. If you're the type of person that always has wanted to start your own thing, you know you have some sort of creative seed in you and you want to get it out into the world. On the other hand, if you already have started a brand and maybe you've already got a website, maybe you've already got a name and a logo too, this class is going to teach you a lot of tips, tricks, experience, know-how, things that I've learned, and it's going to really help you take your brand to the next level. Everyone who takes this class and enrolls, you're going to get to learn what you want to learn. You can watch the videos, you could read the PDFs, you could read the reference links that we're going to offer you, and then you're going to upload your best work, your best brand, your best collection, your best logo. But I'm a gambling man, and I like to add a little bit of competitive nature, so I've devised a plan. Me and my team are then going to review all the entrants that we're going to get. We're going to pick our 3 favorites. I will then one-on-one mentor each of those individually in New York City in our showroom. Out of those 3 winners, 1 grand prize winner, which will be determined by my team as well as the entire Skillshare community, will then be invited to exhibit their collection at an internationally known trade show. You're gonna go from one of 1,000 fish in the sea
to 3 in the pond of Staple here, where I'm going to be able to critique, review you, get you prepped, and get you worked up. And then once I think you're ready for the big time and the entire Skillshare community thinks you're ready for the big time, we're going to take you to the big time, and you're going to be right there on the international trade show floor with the rest of them. So good luck.
Can we give a big round of applause to Aaron at Agenda 2 for supporting this? Word. Okay, that was all nice. Now for some reality. So, I'm going to bring you some bad news now. New research from the US Bureau of Labor suggests that most American businesses fail in their first 2 years. Okay? So I've given you all this good news on how to start your brand. Now I'm going to give you some reality, so I give you the opposite of it too. Let's see how this looks in chart form. So in year 1, you've got 100 brands. 100% of the brands obviously survive year 1, right? As you go from each year, you'll see that brands start to fall off. New companies start to fall off, right? By year 4, less than half survive. If we extrapolate that out going for 15 years, you can see what continues to happen. So again, you start at 100, you go 10 years out, you're at like 30%. By the time you get to 15 years out, and Staple's 17 years old, so I stopped it at 17. But if you go 17 years out, 2.5 brands survive, 2.5% survive out of all those brands that started 17 years ago. So it's pretty bleak stuff. So entrepreneurship is not all that it's cracked up to be. In fact, I've got friends that have started their own company. They didn't come from like a rich family. They really worked their ass off, and they hate their lives. They hate their lives. And I've got other friends that have full-time careers. They work for their dream company. They went to school, they got their master's, they got their PhD. They wanted to work for company A, company B, company C. They're now working for those companies, and they hate their lives too. And I've got other friends that don't do jack shit. They don't have a job, and they hate their miserable lives too. So what does that mean? Why I got all these friends, why do they all like complain and bitch and like moan about their lives? Well, here's the takeaway. It all sucks. It's true. You know that saying, grass is green on the other side? It's totally true. No matter what you do, you're going to be complaining about what your friend does. Oh, my friend's so lucky he started his own company. He doesn't have to ask for vacation days. He could just take off whenever he wants. And then that friend's like, oh, you're so lucky you got a 401k and your pension's all set up and you get weekends off. And, at 5 o'clock you get to go home to your wife and family. And my unemployed friend's like, man, y'all get to eat food and shit. Damn. So that's it. So, if life just sucks doing everything you do, the least you could do is just do what makes you happy. Because I guarantee you that no matter what path you take, you're going to find something to complain about. So just do what makes you happy, and that will give you the least amount of opposition for finding happiness in your life. So I do a lot of these talks, and I speak to a lot of students, as you can see. And the number one most frequently asked question I have is, how do I become a success? And the thing that messed it all up for that is the internet. The internet messed it all up, because with the internet, all you see is the success. You don't see the blood, the sweat, the tears. Everyone on the internet looks like an overnight sensation, And I'm going to give you some case studies of that. So this dude, Psy, this motherfucker, has the song of like all time, right? But everyone knows about him. Look at his YouTube play count. I didn't even know digits existed like that big. But this is what people don't know. Psy's been recording for 12 years. This is his 6th album, not his first album. He's been arrested 2 times in the past 10 years. And now he has the biggest song on planet Earth. He overtook Justin Bieber and Katy Perry, and he did it as a first for a Korean artist. But everyone calls him an overnight success, but nobody sees the blood, sweat, and tears that he put into it. Here's another example. Who's played this game? Angry Birds. It's an amazing business. Amazing. I look up to Angry Birds like you would not believe, because you can buy Angry Birds bubble gum, toilet paper, like maxi pads. You can buy Angry Bird everything now. But Angry Birds, you know, again, came out of nowhere, right? Everyone wants to be the next Angry Birds. Everyone wants to invent the next thing. What people don't realize is that the parent company of Angry Birds, which is Rovio, this is their 34th attempt at a game. And you ain't never heard of their first 33 games, trust. This game took 6 years to make. Angry Birds alone now has over 1 billion downloads. And Rovio earned 74 million euros, or about $100 million last year. Again, everyone wants to be the overnight success, but they don't see what went into it, you know? So, what is success? I want to show you this video that really, to me, exemplifies what success and happiness is. So check this out.
現在刀だけで生計を立てていける方っていうのは私を含めて日本で大体30名ぐらいと言われています。若い頃は刀が好きで作っていました。で年を重ねるごとにやはり日本人の美意識なり審美眼なり日本人の本質というものを次の世代に刀を通して伝えていこうと今思っています。大学の頃でしたが、ある雑誌に今の私の師匠である宮入明平の写真集が載っておりまして、まだ刀を作っている方が日本にいるっていうことが分かりまして、そこで初めて刀鍛冶になろうと思って決心しました。家族は反対しましたね。刀で生計が成り立つとは到底考えられないので、刀鍛冶になるんだったら、家出ていけと言われましたね。平安鎌倉時代の刀、いわゆる古刀というものは作り方も製法、技術的なものもほとんど残されていません。再現というのは限りなく不可能です。不可能ですけれども、そこに私を感動させるものがありますので、それを目指して40年やり続けてきて、やっとこの5、6年に小作に1歩か2歩近づけるような作品ができてきました。伝統工芸に携わっている人間はどうしても自分の技術を伝えていこうとする場合に時代に迎合する方向に走っていきます。そうすることによって我々の持っている技術が少しずつ本質を外れていくんです。ですけれども本質を外してまで伝統文化を次の世界に伝えていくっていうことは意味のないことだと思います。弟子にはいつか私を超えてほしいと思っています。私より優れた弟子を育てることが私の役目であり、そうでなければ文化というものは風化してしまうのです。私が師匠から受け継いだのは技術だけではありません。師匠の刀に対する思いを受け継ぎました。私も弟子には私の刀の思いを伝えていきたいと思いますし、弟子も自分の刀に対する思いを次の世代に伝えていくものと思っています。
I get chills every time I watch that video. When he says that if my disciple hasn't surpassed me, it's like my duty to do that. Like, that gets me every time. It's like all of you guys doing your brand, your thing right now, if you don't surpass me in what I've done, then I've failed at my job, you know? And I want to take away some of the things that he said and really highlight them. So it's really interesting. When I saw this video, what I did was I took, every time he said swords or ancient swords, I said to myself, success or happiness. So let's reread some of these lines that he said. He said, there are no directions or formulas left to make happiness, which is true. There's no directions or formula. You can't look at someone else and say, he did it this way, I'm gonna find happiness that way too. It's impossible to recreate that happiness. However, that should attract you. That is what should be the attraction to you, that you can't replicate it. He's been trying to do it for 40 years, and it's only been in the past 5 years that he's even come close to the way other people have done it. And that should be the attraction. It shouldn't be the fact that, you know, you are looking at your peers and you're saying like, oh, why ain't I like balling like him? Why ain't I successful like him? You should be attracted to the fact that you're not and figuring out your own path and how to do it. See, the thing that the internet fucked up on is that it makes everyone think they're an overnight success. So kids now, they think that success is like a magic wand that's bestowed upon them. They think there's some wizard that's going around saying like, you're gonna be successful. You are, you're not, sorry, you are, yes you are, you're not. You know, it doesn't work like that. But they think it does, so they think that like if they go to the right parties or if they network with the right people, that they get themselves out there more, which makes them more likely to get that magic wand bestowed upon them. But that's in fact not true at all. The actual reason for success is this image. This is why he's successful. He's created an environment and a home where he's able to just pound metal every day. And that's what I've done. I've created an environment where I can just pound metal every day, and that is why I'm happy. There is no substitute for hard work, I'm sorry. So the second most frequently asked question I get is, yeah, that's cool, but just how hard do I have to work though? That's always the second question. After I say that, they're like, yeah, but really how hard do I have to work? To answer that question, I turn to a poet named Sean Carter. He's great, and this line, you know, he says, we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, and it's kind of a desperation. Through that desperation, we become addicted, but we feel we have nothing to lose, so we offer our lives. What do you bring to the table? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Rockefeller. We invite you to something epic, you know?
Any questions?
Where we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness.